Hey there, guys. Randy with Pete's RV TV today. For the first Randy's favorite food, I tried to think. I went back to my roots, right? And let's even pull it back further than that. Um, what is cooking, right? Cooking always came fairly easy to me, and I really enjoyed doing it. It was kind of an outlet for me to be creative and have some fun. And then, of course, you get to eat it when you're done, right? But then I started thinking about it, and I'm like, what do I do? What am I best at? How have I made my mark in this world? And I take tools and I put things together to give an end result, or I fix things with tools giving an end result. Pretty much what cooking is. We take material and we combine it with specialty tools, and then we get an end result. Cooking is like building, and cooking is like fixing things, and that's why probably I enjoy it and it comes easy to me. So for the first Randy's favorite food in the outdoor kitchen, I wanted to go back to the basics, and one of the first things that I really looked at and wanted to achieve success on how to cook well and do a really good job at, and I feel that I've done that. And anybody that I cook for it tells me that I have, or either they're lying to me. But we're going to cook some prime ribeye today and see what we can do with those. So let's go cook some steaks, man. All right, so in my quest to cook the perfect steak, there was a lot of trial and error, and we ate a lot of steak that was not that great. We threw away some steak, but once I started kind of dialing it in and seeing what I needed to do to get to achieve the level that I wanted to achieve, which was that high-end steakhouse level, I realized I figured out a lot of stuff on the cooking side, but I realized it comes down to the meat too. You can't just go buy a $5 steak at the grocery store in a package and expect to get restaurant quality or fine steakhouse quality results, right? So you got to get a good piece of meat. Today I went to Costco. Surprisingly enough, Costco's Prime and Costco's Choice are good steaks. They really are. You have to buy 3 or 4 of them, but they are really good. So if you have a Costco's locally and you're looking for 3 or 4 steaks, I recommend looking there. They do a good job, and the price is within reason, right? You can go to your local grocery store or a butcher and pick it up. The steak that I like the most, the cut of meat that I like the most if I am making a steak, is going to be the ribeye. And so the ribeye is usually you've got the sirloin, the ribeye, there's porterhouses and T-bones and things like that. You typically don't see those at fine steakhouse, or you find the filet. The ribeye for me is the most flavorful. It's got the most fat in it. And fat, we think it was a bad thing, but when you're doing barbecue or making steaks like that, fat means flavor. And so what we want to do is capitalize on that flavor. So like the pieces I picked out here, the steaks I picked out here from Costco today, you can see there's lots of marbleizing in the steak. We're not going to eat this big fat pieces here, but the marbleizing in the steak, that's going to liquefy, and that's going to add some tremendous flavor. So these 4 steaks were a pretty decent price, but they look really good, and I'm excited to cook these because I think these things are going to taste pretty darn good. All right, so I've taken the cellophane off the steaks, and they are looking better and better as time goes on. So one of the big, huge things probably that was the biggest game changer for me in my quest to cook that perfect steak was actually 2 things. One was a dry brine, and one was allowing the steak to warm up enough prior to cooking, so I didn't get a burn on the outside and I was still cold in the middle. I want to let my steak warm up to a decent temperature before I start cooking it. That way I'm going to get a great sear on the outside, and the middle is going to finish appropriately for me. So we want to let them warm up a little bit. But first, we're going to do what's called a dry brine. So what a dry brine is we're going to take some kosher salt, or I got some pink Himalayan salt here, and I am just going to gingerly spread this over the top of my steaks. And what this is going to do for us, this is a real game changer, and everybody I've taught this trick to gets back to me and is like, I can't believe I was never doing this prior to now, and I don't know how I've never heard of this. I've kind of felt the same way when I learned it as well. And so I'm just taking and doing that, and we can even do the elbow. I'm just taking some salt, kosher salt, big salt chunks, don't use table salt, and I'm putting it over the top of the meat, and I'm putting it on pretty liberally. And what this salt is going to do is it's going to draw the liquid out of the meat, and the liquid will start to puddle on the top. And then once the liquid puddles on the top, now the meat's going to pull that liquid, that salty liquid, back down in the meat, just giving it a different flavor profile than if it was not to have any salt on it at all. So this time right here, I'm going to put these back in the refrigerator, probably for about an hour or so. And then we're going to take them back out, and we will flip them over, do the dry brine on the other side, same way, and then we're going to leave them out. So I'll see you in about an hour. Today we're going to be using a broiler. This thing here is called a Blazing Bull, and it actually has two burners on the top that we're going to raise the meat up into. And this is the same way that like Ruth Chris and some of those high-end steakhouses that I was chasing did their stuff. So when I found out that they were using broilers, I needed to try that. Now, you don't need to use a broiler to get a great steak. You can use a cast iron pan, you can use a grill, same method getting to this point with the dry brine and everything like that. But today we're going to use a broiler and we're going to put a good sear on these steaks. So one thing to get a good sear on a steak is you need to make sure that your meat is dry when you put it against the heat. And if it's not, it'll steam and it'll take away the sear. It'll create a pocket between the heat and the meat, not giving you a good sear. And the sear is what we really want to do with these steaks. Put a good sear on the outside and bring the inside up to, my personal preference is a medium rare. I don't think a steak should be cooked past medium rare. That's me. I'm very traditional when it comes to cooking steaks. I'm salt and pepper and maybe a little garlic powder at the end. Some butter. I'm going to use a non-salted butter. The reason I don't like to use anything is I'm doing steaks high heat. So anything that is could burn, we don't want to add there, or it's just going to burn for us. So we are going to put these steaks on like this. I just patted them dry. So we had some puddling on the top. I just took a paper towel, patted those steaks dry, so the tops are nice and dry now. I'm going to take the first one that we're going to put in. I'm actually going to pat the other side of it as well. Both sides are nice and dry now, so we should get some good searing effects on that. We'll bring this over to the broiler. So I'm gonna put this guy right here. I already hear that hot broiler going. We'll take this guy and tap it dry. Dry off the other side there very quickly. Get that nice salty juice. We'll put this guy over here. We'll go ahead and put these guys in. And then I'm going to bring that up into the flame. So right now I have those steaks about 1.5 inches off the flame. So you can see that flame up there kissing the top of those steaks and just putting a great sear on that thing. So next what we're going to do is, I got this tray down here. We're going to get some butter and we're going to put it in that tray. So I've got some unsalted butter, and I use unsalted butter because unsalted butter does not burn as easy as salted butter, believe it or not. So we're going to put some unsalted butter in the bottom of this guy here. And it's going to mix with those drippings from the steak cooking and just make some goodness for us to finish that steak off. So I flipped the steaks over and brought them back up into the heat. They had some incredible sear on them. We are searing again as we speak because I can hear it. The butter's melting nicely in the bottom, so I'm going to start checking some temperature here in a minute. I use a instant read thermometer. So this one's from ThermoWorks. It's called a ThermoPen. It's the best one I've found out there. It's a little bit pricey, but if you watch for it on holidays, it's not too bad, and it'll last you for a long time. And pro tip, like everybody I know that I care about has one of these because it's a great gift. So All right, let's see what these guys look like. Pull them down. Pull them out a little bit. That's an incredible sear. Those are gonna be amazing. So I'm gonna check temperature and then we will decide whether they're gonna go down in the butter bath or we're gonna cook them a little bit longer. Okay, so I did put these back up in the heat for a few minutes and I just want you to see what I see when I take them down, and it's amazing. So check out the sear on those guys and just the bubbling and popping and how incredible that looks. Those look amazing. So we are ready for the butter bath. So we're gonna pull this bottom guy out here. I'm gonna grab my tongs. Sorry. We're gonna take this guy. I'm gonna flip it over. And I'll throw it right down in the butter bath. So we put that non-salted butter down in the bottom there. I'll get this guy out of the way. We'll move that up. I'm actually gonna pull this out so we get a little bit better heat on them. I'm gonna put those guys back in there and we'll continue to cook those in the butter bath until they reach about 120, 125 internal. Then I'm gonna pull them and that should give me a good medium rare. All right, boys and girls, that magic hour has come. So I'm gonna go ahead and take these out. Temperature moves very quickly once they get close to the end. So be careful with that. You don't walk away from something if you're within a few or 5 or 10 degrees because it is gonna move very quickly. So let's see what this guy looks like. I've let it rest for a few minutes. Take a cut right out of the center. How's that? Amazing. Oh. If you want to cook a good steak, do it like that. All right, guys, so thanks for hanging out with me and learning how I make a steak and how I like them. So I'm looking forward to the next cook with you guys, and we'll have to come up with something really cool. I'm also going to be hitting the road here again in a little bit, so I think we're going out the Midwest and then down south, so we'll be looking at that food as well. So thanks for thinking Pizza RV. I look forward to seeing you on the road, and happy camping.